Tonight, an AirAsia flight with 162 people on board goes missing, reportedly in bad weather. Loved ones are now fearing the worst. The heart-wrenching plea for some common sense this New Year's Eve from a father who knows all too well the dangers of alcohol-fuelled violence. The soaring cost of childcare, it is getting even more expensive and the government has no plan to stop it. And it's party time. Wild Oats 11 makes it a record 8 wins in the Sydney to Hobart.
This is 10 Eyewitness News with Matt Doran.
Good evening. First tonight, we begin with a developing story. An AirAsia plane with 162 people on board has gone missing somewhere north of Indonesia. Air traffic controllers in Jakarta have revealed they lost contact early this morning, moments after the pilots requested to be diverted on an unusual route. Let's go now to Daniel Sutton. And Dan, what more do we know? Yeah, just terrific. Let's hope this plane can be found and soon. Thanks very much to Dan Sutton reporting there for us. Well, as Australians prepare to celebrate the start of 2015, tonight we have a heartbreaking message and one which everyone should hear. The father of a teenager killed in a drunken attack last New Year's Eve has spoken to 10 Eyewitness News, urging everyone to have fun but responsibly and warning that alcohol can change lives forever. Here's Lachlan Kennedy. Well, fireworks experts across the country are working hard to get celebrations ready for the year's biggest party. In Melbourne, they've been busy setting up almost 8 tonnes of pyrotechnics, which will light up the entire city. We've also been given an insight into Sydney's party with a giant red and blue light bulb tested on the Harbour Bridge last night, but organisers are keeping revellers in the dark as to its meaning until the big event. Well, stay with us here on 10 Eyewitness News. Still to come, the sobering oversight putting drivers at risk. The final journey for one of Queensland's most recognisable trains. Surf lifesavers put their hand up for some help. And tens of thousands evacuated in Malaysia's worst floods in a decade. Yeah, with 10's Eyewitness News, tens of thousands of Americans have turned out to say goodbye to slain New York City policeman Rafael Ramos. He and his partner were shot dead as they were ambushed sitting in their patrol car. Caroline Morano has this report. Malaysian authorities have been forced to evacuate 160,000 people following the worst floods in a decade. At least 5 people have been killed in a monsoonal flood, with this season's particularly heavy rain causing unprecedented damage. The government has now promised over $190 million in aid to the region. And in Thailand, residents are bracing for even more flash flooding, with authorities warning conditions are set to intensify over the next week. The government has already declared 8 provinces in the south of the country disaster zones. The floods have now claimed at least 13 lives and affected close to 200,000 homes. And more than 100,000 homes in Britain are without power after fierce winter storms left the country blanketed in snow. The conditions also grounded a number of flights in the north of England, causing lengthy delays across Europe. Ice on the roads is now the greatest concern as the snowstorms move north to Scotland. Yeah, certainly a year of some enormous highs and equally big lows, that's for sure. Time now to take a look at today's sport with Scott Mackinnon. And Scotty, I've got to say, some pretty poor fielding has India right back in this third test. Yeah, the Aussies, they couldn't catch a cold today. Really struggled in the field as the Indians piled on the runs with twin tons at the MCG. Brad Haddon did take an absolute screamer early on, but from there, a number of chances slipped through their fingers. All the highlights are coming up. Also tonight, Mitchell Starc opens up about Shane Warne's criticism. Plus a super strike from the victory in the A-League. Australia has paid the price for some drop catches on day 3 of the third test against India. Both Ajinkya Rahane and Virat Kohli were dropped before going on to score centuries, but the Aussies did mount a late fight back. Duncan Mackenzie-McCarg has the highlights.
Well, he missed out on qualification for this year's Pipeline Masters, but Hawaiian local Jamie O'Brien has proved he's still a force to be reckoned with in his own backyard. The former pipe master powered through an incredible barrel. He dodged surfers and cameramen along the way. His epic tube is an early contender for Wave of the Winter in Hawaii, but for now, Jamie O'Brien, he can have our play of the day, Matt. He makes it look so easy, almost as good as you on a surfboard out there.
Oh, not even close, mate. He's a lot better, let me tell you. Incredible barrels and epic tubes. You wrote that script, didn't you?
Love it. Stoked, yeah. Always.
Good on you, Scotty. Well, stay with us. Coming up next, Amanda Duval has all the national weather details. Well, joining us now for an update on all the weather details is Amanda Duval. Amanda, not great news for holiday makers in northeast New South Wales. They've endured some pretty torrential rain.
Matt, the rain has been so heavy. We had 300 millimetres in less than 24 hours in Tweed Heads. 153 millimetres in Coolangatta was the heaviest rain we've seen here in about 3 years. And we've also seen some very heavy falls across southern parts of Queensland. Of course, that is areas where we really do need it. Charleville, 80 millimetres of rain in the space of 2 days. But some farmers are still missing out. You can see the cloud now is stretching through western parts, central parts of Queensland into southern Queensland and still far northeast New South Wales, where the rain will continue here over at least the next 24 hours. It's been thanks to a low pressure trough, but we've had a lot of moisture coming in off the Coral Sea being pumped into that trough, and that's what's caused such heavy rain. A ridge of high pressure through the south has kept things relatively settled today. We got to 30 degrees in Adelaide, just 24 for Sydney. Matt?
Looking pretty good right across the country. Thanks, Amanda. Well, that is 10 Eyewitness News for your Sunday night. I'm Matt Doran. Thanks for your company. Have a great night.